and make sure you make it to church on Sunday.
Okay, so today we've got just a couple of real quick projects to do on the RV, but the most important one, the one that we're going to film and really look at, is actually doing some maintenance on the water heater. Lots of people have problems with water heaters. The electrical contacts are exposed to the elements. There's big temperature shifts between cold or cold outside and then hot inside. And so a lot of things can happen, and there's some pretty easy things you can do to maintain your water heater, and we're going to walk through that right now. Okay, so the list of things that you're going to need first, we're going to want to have some dielectric grease, we're going to have some electrical contact cleaner, a screwdriver, flat and Phillips, and also a nut driver. We are going to replace the thermal cutoff, we're going to replace the sacrificial rod, and we're also going to replace the pressure relief valve. So we've got a couple of other tools over here to help us take off the pressure relief valve. So let's get to it. Alright, so the first thing is to get access to the water heater. Most every water heater looks like this. It has a pin here that we can turn, and then this access hatch will fall down. And then you can see inside of here what the pieces of the water heater. First off, we have the propane line coming in, and then this is the regulator. Here is the burner tube. Or the air vent, and then there's the burner tube right there with the striker right here. Up here is your control board right here. Here is your pressure relief valve right there, and you'll notice that my pressure relief valve, I can't pull it open and leave it open. It has these two little pins right there, so we're going to replace this. It's been a while since this has been replaced too. We have a couple of connections here, and then we have our thermal cutoff here. We're going to replace that as well. And then here, down here at the drain, we have this thing called a hot rod, and you can see over here that I have an electrical outlet plugged in here, and then the plug-in, the 120 plug-in for the hot rod. And since this coach is 30 amp, I really don't use the hot rod a lot. We just primarily use propane to heat the water. It heats it a lot faster too. So I'm going to leave the wire in here, but I'm going to take the hot rod out for right now, and we're going to replace it with another anode tube. So first thing we'll do is we'll take this baffle off because it's sheet metal and I just hate banging into it. Alright, so first we'll do is take this out. You can see that's kind of old, probably original to this. And so what we'll do now is replace it with the new one. It's just a standard Camco pressure relief valve. Okay, so now that the old pressure relief valve is out, what we want to do is kind of clean the old Teflon tape out of the threads here. Alright, so while that's open, we'll go ahead and drain the water heater. Unplug the hot rod. I'm just going to tuck this back into here.
It's a waterfall!
Alright, so now that's out. First thing we'll do is replace the anode. We'll replace where the hot rod was with an anode rod. We'll get some tape. Do the tape on the pressure relief valve.
Is that sticky tape?
Nope, it's just Teflon tape, and it just makes a good watertight seal. Leave that open. Okay, so now the next part of this project is to clean all of these contacts and replace this thermocouple. Now what this does is, if this gets hot, it's not a fuse. A lot of people think this is a fuse, but it's not. If this gets hot and the pressure relief fails, and the pressure relief doesn't relieve the pressure, and this just continues to get hotter and hotter, this will burn up, and then that will turn the electrical part of this system off so that your hot water or your water heater will stop. A lot of times your water heater will stop working, and then you freak out and you call a whole bunch of people, and then you pay for a technician to come, and it turns out that there's nothing wrong. It's very possible that you just have some dirty connections. Remember, all of these connections are exposed to the elements. They're not sealed up in here. And so what happens is these connections get dirty. And so the general rule of thumb is that you can take these connections and you can unplug them and plug them back 10 times per connection, and that will reattach, that will get better metal to metal contact on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull each contact out, and we're going to spray it with some electrical contact cleaner. We're going to unplug and plug 10 times, and then we're going to hook it all back up. There it is. And we just continue to do that over the rest of the system. And now for the thermal contact, we're going to take this one out. And it's not supposed to be solid, and you'll know that it does bend, and that's the way that's supposed to be, so that's fine.
Pink.
There we go. Now you can unplug that, give that a shot. And of course, I want to make sure our ground is really good and grounded as well. So now we can put everything back together. All right, one last thing that I'm going to do is I have some dielectric grease here. I'm going to squish it up inside so that if it has separated any on the inside of it. All right, so now to keep from corrosion and all that kind of stuff, what I am going to do is give a nice little coat of dielectric grease to the ground right here so that we don't get any oxidation on that. Now, some people say, even the instructions on this liquid wrench dielectric grease stuff says that what you can do is take a little bit of that and then lightly coat the contacts on either side. But I have found that that is not exactly the best thing to do. That's just my personal opinion. I usually connect things and then put the dielectric grease on the outside of it and around it to protect the oxidation from the outside. But I have had instances where this has prevented metal to metal contact inside of a connector. And so I do not put this on the inside where my connections are. So with that, that takes care of everything with the water heater. The important thing after you finish this, very important, fill it back up with water before you turn it back on. It's got to be full of water before you turn it on, or you can really mess up the tank. And if you have an electric portion of this and you turn it on, the electric element can burn out. And that's it. That's all there is to just doing some basic maintenance on your water heater. Hopefully that will keep our water heater going problem free for a while. But if you've had problems with your water heater, that is just some simple steps you can kind of go through to make sure that it is really a problem before you have to call some repair person. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this has helped you. Get out there, RV, have fun with your family. Make sure you make it to church on Sunday.